You're listening to Crushing Classical, How to Thrive in Your Creative Career. I'm your host, Janet Ingle, oboist, entrepreneur, author, and business and creative coach for musicians. Today on the podcast, you'll hear my interview with Deb Stevenson, oboist, teacher, music contractor, and founding member of Rendezvous Arts. The organization that she created hosts events that offer something for everyone and is a triumph of win-win for musicians, visual artists, and audiences alike. I hope you enjoy this episode. Deb Stevenson has had a career in music for 35 years. She's seen all sides of the music profession, from orchestra to Broadway shows and even playing with rock bands. She teaches at the high school and college level and contracts musicians for concerts. She says, I love to play the oboe, but even more than that, I love to create work for music and visual artists and to make connections between these people and their audiences. It's not easy to start up an organization that really has legs, that in just a few years is offering 23 concerts annually, has an endowment and a substantial donor base, and has a loyal audience in 3 cities. But to hear Deb talk about it, it absolutely has flowed exactly the way it was meant to. I feel like I've found in my own life too, and in watching my friends work, that there are times when it seems like the universe is completely against you, and times when everything seems easy. I don't want to attribute anything particularly woo to this, but I have noticed that when someone is really clear about the what and the why of their creation, when they've thought through the values that they hold and what they want the project to be and for whom, it becomes easy for others to see that too. Maybe part of what makes this so easy is the unshakable faith Deb has in her musicians, her audiences, her idea. Something I want you to notice is that throughout this process, Deb has been talking about it. Business happens at the speed of relationships. I say that all the time, but I really noticed the moments in her story when things just happened. COVID shut things down, and a friend suggested that this was the time to start their series, the one that he knew she'd been ideating on the whole time. Her friends all agreed to be on the board and to truly work to get the thing off the ground. The supporters of an orchestra that had folded were willing to support her project because they knew her and the quality that she brought to the table. People cheerfully agree to drive long distance and play with Deb and for her. People come to the performances because they trust that she will put together a good show. It looks like magic from the outside, but it's really about having a lifetime of connections and goodwill built up and ready to draw upon. What project is in your heart? What idea are you waiting around for the right moment to start? Are you talking about it to people? Are you workshopping it over wine with friends? Are you mentioning it when you talk to the audience after your concerts? And even if you don't have full clarity about that idea yet, are you connecting with people who will trust you enough to support your gorgeous vision when it comes to be clear for you? Don't keep your great idea under wraps, is my big message here. Talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, talk to a coach, talk to me if you like. You can book a call from my website and we can chat. I love this kind of thing. Meanwhile, I know you will love this interview. Normally, I would be talking to you about funds in this place in the podcast, but today I want to talk to you instead about a short program that I'm going to be offering. It's going to be October only, Thursday afternoons, and it's a set of 4 workshops on starting a reed business. Now, a reed business is not so complicated. Plenty of people have started one without my help. I started mine when I was 24, but it's been such an incredible benefit to me in my life, both in improving the efficiency and consistency and excellence of my reads themselves, and in stabilizing my income, which made it possible for me to pursue my artistic dreams, my more creative visions, more creative than reads, you know? And it's been such a boon to me that I am eager to help other people to create this kind of magic for themselves. So I'm offering these read business workshops It's a set of four. We're going to talk about the money, the systems, the marketing, and then all the other stuff. The fourth session is going to be sort of a grab bag of things that we weren't able to cover and the questions that you have. And these are going to be interactive, they're going to be on Zoom, and I want to have you put your fledgling read business together during these sessions so that you can like come out running and probably easily earn back the tuition within about a month. That's what I hope. So if that interests you at all, and I understand that this is probably only of interest to double read players and maybe single read players, but if this is interesting at all, I've got a link in the show notes just for you, and I would love to see you there. Deb Stevenson, welcome to Crushing Classical.
Thanks, Janet. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Deb, you and I have known each other for forever, right? We're oboists together in Chicago. We've played a million gigs together. Why don't you, Deb, tell me about Rendezvous Arts?
Okay, great, Janet. I'd love to. So, chamber music has always been where my heart lies. 20 years ago, I started my oboe quartet, oboe, violin, viola, cello. And in playing concerts all those years, I just really love the fact that you get to play for more intimate settings. Usually, you get to actually talk between pieces and let the audience know some about you as well as what you're playing. You get to talk with audience members afterwards. Like, it's always bothered me that at the end of an orchestra concert, the audience goes out the front door and we go out the back door. And we never cross paths, you know. In chamber music, you get to know each other. And that's just
Yeah.
such a special, neat thing. And hear what they liked, hear what they'd like to hear, all that kind of stuff. So after many years of that, I went to Albuquerque, and a friend of mine took me to a concert series that they have there. And it was really eye-opening to me. They have a concert every week, which is crazy. And they have like a core group of musicians, and they had a artist who goes to their rehearsals, and he fills a sketchbook with sketches of the rehearsals, and you can look at that before the concert and stuff. And I just thought, why don't we have that in Chicago? And so apparently for the next couple of years, anybody that knows me says that all I did was talk about, why don't we have this? How can we have this? So then flash forward to the pandemic, and it hits. The day it hits, an orchestra that I was a member of, the Lake Forest Symphony, sadly folded.
Mm.
And so, our heads are spinning, like, we just lost this job, we just lost everything, what can we do? And Tom Yang, who was also a member of the orchestra, and I each lucked into some small business association loans. And he called me up one day and he said, why don't we start that chamber music series that you've always talked about? And so within about 6 weeks, we had a board, mostly Lake Forest Symphony members. We somehow managed to get 501c3 status that quickly. Tom's oldest daughter, Lauren, helped build a website. We went to the Gorton Center in Lake Forest, which is where the Lake Forest Symphony used to perform. And we had a successful chamber music series as part of the orchestra season. And the Gorton Center said, yeah, they would like to continue the chamber music series. So now we had a home. And then my daughter...
Hold 1 second here, because
Okay.
I feel like we just glossed over a whole lot of work.
Okay.
The moment when you said, oh, he had this idea, and then 6 weeks later we had a board, and then we had a 501c3 status, and then we had a venue.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's probably a lot of steps in there that happened, and before we even jump into those steps, which I am interested in, I love that you had the inspiration from this series that you saw in Albuquerque about like chamber music with art. If I'm understanding that right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what you ended up creating in Chicago. You've
Yeah.
been talking about it. You've been talking about it with Tom. It was all sort of in your head.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of steps between, "Oh, wouldn't this be fun?" and having a board, 501(c)(3) status, and
Mhm.
a venue. So I know you'd been playing chamber music for a long time and like running your oboe quartet and getting gigs and really keeping a lot of longevity in place for a relatively niche ensemble. Like you guys had commissioned pieces. There's all sorts of backstory to that chamber music group.
Right.
But but where could we slow down some of the
Okay.
steps of
Okay.
starting this ensemble?
I get so excited about where we are now. I forget
I know, and I'm
even
so
where we
excited
came
about where
from.
you are now.
Yeah. So, yeah, we all had a lot of time during the pandemic. We
Sure.
weren't working, and so we had nothing but time on our hands, and got a board together that was really excited about it. And the Lawyers for the Creative Arts um, announced that they were having a Zoom class about gaining 501(c)(3) status. And the class is usually expensive, but because of the pandemic, they were, I think, charging $30 a person. So myself and our secretary, Wendy Benner, took that course. And then Wendy filled out all that paperwork exactly as they said. And it worked.
Mhm.
And I don't know how it worked so quickly and so luckily for us, because some people it takes them years to get 501(c)(3) status, but we got it in
Yeah.
one try and in just a couple weeks. And so huge shout out to Wendy for that. I mean, she just did great. And
What's also amazing there is that, okay, I've sat on a lot of boards, or I've sat on a few boards of arts organizations, and it feels like a lot of the time people are just sort of sitting around and then like sitting on their hands when the time comes to ask for volunteers to like actually do the things. But here you are, early pandemic, and granted, everyone has some time, but there you are, and the secretary is like, "Yeah, sure, let's go take this class. Let's do this thing. Let's."
yeah,
That there's a lot of speed and energy
exactly.
in that.
It was I think we were all just excited to think about creating work for people at a time when there was no work.
Absolutely.
Right. In my whole 35-year long career, sure, I like playing the oboe, but creating work for other people is what brings me the biggest joy. And so that's, part of why I became a contractor, but that's also part of this is I haven't done the math on how many musicians we have hired this year. I do know 7 artists because we have 7 concerts, but it's
Hmm.
a lot of work we're creating for
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
really enjoyable, good work. And so I think that, yes, Rendezvous's been a lot of work. I spend upwards of 30 hours a week sometimes working on it. But
Mm.
the joy it's bringing not only to the board members and the musicians and the artists, but the audiences as well, um, worth every minute. Worth every minute.
Sure, because for professional musicians, some gigs are just sort of the kinds of things we get through.
Hmm.
We, show up and we play the Pocketbell Canon again, or whatever it is. It's a pops concert, it's holiday schlock, it's whatever it is. But I don't think I've ever heard anyone go, "Oh, I'm playing one of Deb's gigs this weekend." Right? Like you're exactly right. That
Well, thank you.
music is interesting, the musicians are fantastic, and you're programming, amazing events
Well, thank
that
you so
people
much.
want to play.
Thank you. That means the world to me. I feel very lucky to get to do those things. I really never take it lightly for a minute that people trust me to book musicians for them. That
Hmm.
musicians trust me that it will be a good job that does come through, that they want to play their hearts out. And that they smile and have a great time through the whole thing. There's just nothing better.
That's wonderful. Do you find that when you were contracting for other people, sorry, this is a side, this is a tangent because I suddenly got interested.
That's okay.
When somebody asks you to contract something and you think it's going to be a lousy gig, do you say no? Or do you?
I I'm trying to remember if that's ever happened. Um, I think not every gig is a great gig. I
Hmm.
think that the people that you and I tend to work with have the ability to make a not great gig be a good gig somehow. Like we can go play with the average church choir and suddenly really elevate what they do by the energy and musicality that we bring. If I ever heard about somebody, approach me and I heard like bad things about them or that they were really difficult or mean to musicians or whatever, no, I wouldn't go down that road. I
Hmm.
wouldn't go down that road. Life's too short to play with mean people.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And actually, you're absolutely right about just bringing the right musicians together. Um, and I feel like I remember playing Les Preludes with you not too long ago,
Yeah,
and like
last spring.
that is not a good piece of music, but that was a fun experience. And you're exactly
Talking
right.
about
The
that
the
the other day because
musicians,
at the end, we didn't know this was going to happen, but the theater like went full disco lights at the end of the piece. And it was just
yes.
awesome. So yeah, yeah, you get one kind of rough person in the group, and it can bring down the whole group. So personality is key, and knowing who works well together and who can turn pages well in a violin part, and who is annoyed by how somebody else is to be with a stand partner, and just making the right mix of people. It's really important, and it's one of my favorite parts of the job, actually.
That's really amazing, and that's something that like I've noticed that you do really well, and not every contractor does or thinks about. So thank you for talking about that with me. I think it is important
Well, thank you
and
for
interesting.
noticing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see. You're about to start your third season of Rendezvous Arts. Can you just sort of like walk through how you emerged from the pandemic? You had all this good
Yeah.
energy and you had a board,
Yeah.
but like what were those first two seasons looking
Okay.
like, and what are
So
the growing pains?
yeah, on top of the Gorton Center, we actually did get a second venue our first year as well in Chicago, Artifact Events, which is a amazing, beautiful warehouse space, and they give us the entire building, and we use the building as like a character too in the series, so that we're constantly shifting where in this huge, lovely building we're planning concerts on.
Amazing.
So we got in there my daughter Taylor, who does all of our audio visual work for the series. She used to work there, and so that's how we came to pick that venue. So we were all good to go. We had 7 concerts worth of chamber music planned, 7 artists booked. First concert was going to be in October of 2020. We're able to have it, but we're only allowed to have 30 audience members per venue.
Oh my gosh.
So everything went as dreamed except for that, right? And then everything shut down completely. And so what we did was we have a Patreon channel for subscription,
Hmm.
and we did all of our concerts virtually.
Hmm.
And we filmed them at Artifact Events because it's big, huge space, and the musicians could spread out and wear masks when necessary or possible. And we managed to put on the whole season virtually, and we managed to come out of that with a little money in the bank, thanks to I just kept that list of donors to the Lake Forest Symphony,
Hmm.
and some of them jumped on board.
Hmm.
Um, Friends, family donated. So we got really lucky.
That's wonderful. So, in other words, your income certainly didn't all come from the Patreon, but you were selling tickets to these events, like virtual
No,
tickets.
yeah, no art series can ever pay their bills on ticket sales alone.
Right.
Most art series, about 25% of your budget is paid by ticket sales, which is a shocking fact when you tell most people that. And
Yes.
people look at the musicians on stage and think, well, that can't cost much. But then you got to remember there's a stage crew, there's lighting, there's electricity, there's water, there's a building, there's advertising, all that stuff that has to be paid for. A
Of
website,
course.
ticket printing, anything, right? So, yeah, we lucked into some just really, really fabulous donors that have been support us through all of it, continuing the third season, adding some new ones. So they've been our life's blood.
Amazing. And you said luck, but I wonder if it was actually luck or if it was you having cultivated relationships through your entire time in Chicago, and maybe a little bit of like pandemic I wonder
Yeah,
whether
I don't
the
know
pandemic.
because the big donors that we have, I had
Mhm.
never met.
Hmm.
I think that they liked the fact of continuing to support the musicians after the Lake Forest Symphony folded, because
Sure.
our three big sponsors, the Buchanan family, the Butler Foundation, and our newest one, the Chicago Community Trust, um, all were sponsors of the Lake Forest Symphony. And then everybody else is just the pure love and support of our family and friends. And it's been it just makes your heart melt. It's just been
Yeah.
fabulous. It
Oh,
really is. It really is. So
that's
so yeah. So then we went virtual, um, but we started planning season two, and so exciting. And so we do 7 concerts a season, but
mhm.
the Patreon channel people, they expect content every month because they pay monthly. And
Sure.
so we started a summer season that we call our summer vignette series, and it's only virtual. Our first summer, we just interviewed each other on the board, like, what's the concertmaster's actual job? What does chamber music actually mean? Wendy
Mhm.
Benner plays violin and baroque oboe, so we did, or I'm sorry, baroque violin, and so
Mhm.
she did one on the difference between modern violin and baroque violin. Right. This past summer, we did all artists that couldn't be rendezvous artists. We did a blacksmith. We did a big
Oh,
stone carver. People that couldn't bring their art to us. So I actually go in their studios and interview them.
that's
And so
amazing.
the people love that so much that now we have our events with the musicians and the artists, and that's filmed and edited by Taylor for the Patreon channel. But I also go to the artists' studios and interview them there. And our Patreon subscribers get that video as well. And so we actually have people that come to our concerts but still subscribe to our Patreon channel because they want to see the artist interviews.
Which is really innovative, actually. Like,
Thank you.
I feel like so many arts organizations did find their way online, struggle their way online during the pandemic, but I don't know that most that I know of are really actively delivering both virtual and live content
Mhm.
in a way that is different and that encourages people to do both.
Yeah, and our Patreon channel at this point, unfortunately, doesn't make enough money to cover the expenses of it. But we feel it's really important to have for those people that do want it. And it's a great resource for us because we have every single thing we've ever done professionally recorded and edited now, which we use snippets from for advertising. At the end of our third season, we'll finally be eligible for grants. We've done all this without being able to write a grant yet, and those videos will be great for the grants. And we have other plans on how to maybe start getting those out into like assisted living homes and places to people that can't come to concerts,
Yeah.
so that we love what we're doing and we want to get it out to as many people as possible. you know
Yes.
and the other
Yes.
thing that we do with the Patreon channel is, if you or anybody right now listening to this is to join, and you can pick how much you want to pay per month. You can pay as little as 5, you can pay as much as 500. And
Mhm.
we do little fun things like, if certain levels, you get listed as like one of the producers of the video and fun stuff like that. But we don't take anything down. So if you join today, you could go back and watch the last 2 years of interviews and concerts. So that's kind of our gift to everybody. You join, you get it all.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. Because, of course, it doesn't cost you any more to have more people seeing the old videos. In fact, it's only a benefit for you, and
exactly.
it's a benefit for them. And so, like, by having to be online and virtual so early on, you've actually created this amazing vault of content.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And sometimes I go back and watch them just because it's just fun to see them again, And
Mm-hmm.
we only use professional musicians, established groups, um, so they're worthy of watching more than once,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know. And so then, season two, we got underway. Oh, and what I should tell you too, I should go back and tell you, um, we have kind of a theme, and that's something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to pick 7 very different chamber music groups.
Yeah.
So there will be, say, a woodwind quintet, my oboe quartet, steam, traditional Irish instrumental group. People love them. I know we have them every year so far. I think
Mm-hmm.
our audience would not be happy if we didn't do that. Fareed Haq and Goran Ivanovic, classical guitars. I mean, so we try, and we've had brass quintets. This year, our season opener is Corky Siegel, the famous blues harmonica player. So
Yeah.
something for everyone. And the same with the artists. We try and hit as many different visual art genres as possible. So this
Yeah.
year coming up, we have a batik artist. We have someone that paints live during concerts. He'll be painting portraits of the musicians. We have a printmaker who's going to carve the printing blocks during the concert, and after the concert, he'll be making prints. I mean,
Amazing.
we just try and Faith Humphrey Hill. If you looked at her work, you'd swear you're looking at an oil painting of a person, but
Mm-hmm.
it's knit.
No.
And she's making big, like 5-foot panels that'll hang behind the group as we play. I mean, so yeah. So I got ahead of myself. I was going to talk about season 2, and I jumped right into season 3 because I'm so
I
excited.
know, but it's so exciting, and I'll actually side note that from perusing your gorgeous website, I had sort of thought that the blacksmith and the stoneworker were the featured artists, but no, they were just the summer series. They were
They're
just the
just
people
summer.
that you can't get into the buildings, which makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you've got like
So we have
more
7 more artists coming your way.
incredible.
I know. So season 2, we added a 3rd venue. Dixon, Illinois, about 2 hours west of Chicago. I've been bringing musicians, and that concert we were talking about earlier with the
Mm-hmm.
list and the disco lights, it was in Dixon.
Yep.
For about 20 years, I've been bringing orchestras out there a couple times a year. And they approached me and they said, "We like what you're doing. Would you like to bring it out to Dixon?" And we're like, "Yes, please." We've got a
Mm-hmm.
pretty good built-in audience out there. So there we play at the Stage Left Theater, which is a black box theater where they usually put on plays. And so it's got a nice stage, and we like our concerts to feel kind of intimate. So it's a nice small room where, people can sit close by.
Yeah.
And so last season, our 2nd season, we did 21 performances, which is
Unbelievable.
crazy for a 2nd season.
Yes.
So each week, our group and our artists do 3 performances in the one week. So this season, they'll be in Dixon on Wednesdays, Lake Forest on Fridays, and Chicago on Sundays. So it's a big week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we actually added a 4th venue for our 3rd season. I know, right? It's the Schweiker House in Schaumburg, which is just a gorgeous mid-century modern home that's got a really interesting history. And we're just going to do 2 little mini concerts there this year. When we have in February Fareed Haq and Goran on guitars, Fareed's going to do a solo show on the Saturday of that week. And then in December, myself and our board vice president, Lee Kesselman, who's a composer and piano player, he and I are going to do a oboe and piano concert there. So our 3rd season, we have 23 concerts.
That's amazing to it's really impressive to see a musician run ensemble organization just vault so quickly from not existing at all to being a really big deal and creating this many experiences for audiences and this many employment opportunities for musicians and artists. That's a lot to have put together.
I know, it makes my head spin and goosebumps pop up on my arms every time I think about it. It's just, like I said, we've been so lucky. And I think part of our success is how the events actually happen. I think it's very different than what most people think of when they think about going to a so-called classical music concert. when people arrive, um, they're welcome to walk around and meet the artist and look at their art. Um, all of our artists tend to sell art too, so if you like it, you're welcome to buy some art. Um,
Mhm.
there's always the opportunity to buy, a Coke or a glass of wine or something if you like. It's open seating, so
Mhm.
find the place that makes you happy.
Uh,
Um, like I said earlier, we always have 7 different concerts, but within each concert, we also try to hit as many time periods and as many styles as possible. So that, again, something for everyone.
yeah.
And then the part that really is what have made people like love what we do is, the musicians do talk between numbers and everything, but afterwards is the post concert reception
Mhm.
where the musicians and the artists actually and the audience actually mingle together and can have a drink together, and you can ask the musicians all those questions that ran through your mind during the concert.
Yes.
And the one that really took off on was when we had a harpsichord and people realized they could actually go in and look inside a harpsichord and see how it works, right?
Mhm.
They were
Mhm.
just like, and after the April concert last year, I played on that concert, and a man who was certain he had never heard the oboe before in his life came up and for 15 minutes asked me about questions about reeds. And then he and his wife turned around and bought season tickets for this year, and we hadn't even announced the dates or the acts yet. And
Amazing.
we're doing that Wednesday. So up till
Mhm.
now, we've sold many season tickets, and the people don't even have the dates or the acts yet. They just know they want to be there.
Because you're making an experience that they trust is going to be worthwhile, just like as a contractor when you hire gigs, people trust that you're like offering something that is going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the chance to make friends with not only audience members because it's like part concert, part party,
Sure.
but to make friends with these amazing musicians and these amazing artists is just very rare. And I think people are really responding to it.
I feel like I talk about this all the time, that both business moves at the speed of relationships is something I've said before, and also that finding your tribe and the surrounding yourself with people who feel the same way, want to be in your presence and want to like do the things that you're wanting to do is just such an important step for anyone who is ambitious, who like wants to have an experience. And so what you've been doing is creating this group of musicians who want to play together and want to play for audiences, and this beautiful audience who wants to hear what you're sharing no matter what it is because they trust you, and this group of donors who are like willing to put their money into this like trust in this I don't mean like a legal trust. I mean the
Right.
trust that they feel in you and in what you're producing.
Exactly, exactly. And we don't take that lightly. And so
No.
we really do make sure everything's of the highest quality so that nobody can feel like you go to the store and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy this. And then 2 days later it falls apart and you feel robbed. We don't ever want our donors or our audience to feel robbed in any way.
Hmm.
And I loved it. Last year, we had a big article in the Tribune, Chicago Tribune. And uh, Artifact Events got this phone call from this woman, and she said, I don't have the internet, but I want to buy tickets. How can I buy tickets? And so they sent her message to me, and I called her personally. And she was the sweetest thing. She said, so I want to buy 3 tickets to the next concert. And it was for the Irish concert. She goes, I don't think I'm going to like it, but I have 2 friends that are Irish, and you have a glass blower. I love glass. And winds up, she did love the Irish concert, by the way. And then she
Something for
said,
everyone though.
yeah, and then she said, and then I want to buy 2 tickets to the next concert because it's the oboe quartet, and I know I'm going to love that. And my best friend, she just loves costume. And so she was so cute, and she was like, "So how can I do this?" And I was like, "Well, you can just buy tickets at the door." And she's like, "No, no, no, I have to make sure I have tickets." And I'm like, "Well, you could write a check and send it to me in the mail." And she's like, "No, no, I don't want you to run out of tickets." And she goes, I'm going to give you my credit card number. I'm going to trust you with my credit card number. And can you buy them for me? And I'm like, oh, of course, I'd be happy to. And so we have a newsletter we send out every month, by email, and she can't get it. So every month I print the email out and I mail it to her.
That is,
And so I'm sure she'll be back this season, but it's just, it's just so exciting that
yeah.
people want to see it so badly that they go to those kinds of lengths.
Well, exactly, and that and that you as the face of the organization are willing to meet her where she is too. Like I'm trying to imagine calling the Chicago Symphony and saying, "I would like to buy a ticket, but I don't have the internet. How can you help me?" Or
She goes,
yeah,
what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to your place and I'm going to bring a cash and a bottle of wine so we can celebrate how you're doing. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you, but you don't need to go that far.
right.
So, but that's the kind of people we seem to attract. Just really
Hmm.
high energy, fun people who love music, who love art, and can't wait to see what we throw at them next. And one audience member last season even said to me, she said, I looked at your season lineup and I didn't understand how this was all going to work together. And all I can say is, I can't wait to see next month's. And,
Awesome.
I just love that. Just love
Yeah. Oh, this is fantastic. Fantastic. Now, to hear you tell it, of course, it's been one constant progression of awesome.
it. Thank you.
And I wonder, like, have you bumped into some roadblocks? What kinds of things are difficult about this? Because, like, I can't even imagine doing something of this magnitude myself. It cannot possibly be easy.
That's an interesting question. Um, Obviously, it's had its stresses. And for a while last season, we were wondering, can we afford to pay for this? Do we need to
Hmm.
cancel a couple concerts? Do we? And then this wonderful donor came out of the blue and we
Hmm.
finished the season. And then we just got a really, really nice endowment that makes things a lot easier. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And the endowment is ours as long as we exist. We don't have to apply for it every year. And it's $1 million endowment that we get the interest off of every year.
That is
And so
stunning.
right there pays for about half of our season,
Yeah.
right there in that moment. And then our
Incredible.
other endowments and our friends and family, like I mentioned. And then, of course, there will be ticket sales as well. Um,
Hmm.
and so somehow it's all worked out fairly easily. And of course, I do have a board of people that really do help.
Yeah.
One of our newest board members, Dan Wan, is doing all our website for us. And he's doing a gorgeous, gorgeous job, and I have a PR person, Maggie O'Keefe, and she helps me write the newsletter and just does fabulous things. And like I said, my daughter Taylor is on the board and she does all our audio visual. I mean, it's just a great team of people. The board has changed over time. Some people have
Sure.
left, some new people have come, but everybody's heart is in it, and it just somehow keeps working. And I sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I think, how is this like just going so easily? I mean, yes, it's a lot of work, but we haven't hit any bumps, and I need to knock on wood really quickly.
Yeah. Really
But
hard.
it's just been weirdly good. And so far up to this point, like all our advertising has been the newsletter and Facebook and Instagram posts. We have not even paid any advertising yet. So with our endowment and donors, and
Hmm.
I sometimes I worry about talking about that stuff because I don't want people to think, oh well, they're good, they don't need any donations,
Right.
right?
Right. Of
But we
course.
do, because we have we have more plans. Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask. What's
Yeah. I
what like?
mean, obviously paid advertising would be great for us because we want to reach
Mhm.
as many people as possible.
Sure.
Um, it's crazy, but we'd really love to add a fourth venue in our fourth season. There's
Hmm.
so many amazing arts collectives down on the south side. we'd love to get down on the south side of Chicago and work with those arts collectives down there and
Yeah.
create more music and art pairing down there, you know? We would love to start hosting chamber music days for young musicians and do chamber music
Yes.
coaching things and stuff. I haven't talked to him about this yet, but Alan Tinkham, conductor of the Chicago Youth Orchestra, is on our board.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see if maybe we could pair with Chicago Youth Orchestra and Elgin Youth Orchestra, Merit, all those, great music
Yes.
programs here, and start offering some chamber music coaching days.
Oh, absolutely. It's something for everybody. And then also let's nurture the next generation and let's show them what's possible.
Exactly. Exactly. So whereas I sit there and say, we're doing pretty good in all this, but we have plans. We want to keep growing, you know. And so we do need new donors still and
Hmm.
ticket subscribers and Patreon subscribers and all that, because all that works together to create this.
Yes. And it's so inspiring to see this like sort of upstart organization having such grand plans and such early success, but also such. I feel like I think about arts organizations and I think about like your CSOs and your lyric operas and your South Bend symphonies and like these organizations that have been around for decades and which are in some ways very stuck. Like even some they have some nimbleness, some of them, but they're really they don't have the capabilities that you do of being able to say, "Oh yeah, let's add another venue. Let's add another week of events. Let's add another artist." They don't have the ability to just create as you have been doing, but they have the money in a lot of cases, right? They because they are so institutionalized and because they've been around for so long. What is my point here? It's really inspiring to see the success that you're having and how you are turning this thing that like you came up with in your own head during the pandemic into something that is really substantial, that has a substantial endowment, that has an educational wing coming in, maybe that has big is like nurturing this audience over here and these young people over here and these artists and these musicians and these. Is there a question in this? The question is the question is where did you see all of this? Did you see all of this when you started?
No. And actually, I kind of laughed to myself, and I'm like, we were like, yeah, let's just put on a couple little chamber music series concerts. This will be fun. Our friends can play, And it's like, yeah, that'll be easy. That'll be great. Well, it's not like booking musicians for a wedding or
Right.
something, where we normally do a lot of the chamber music playing. It's you have to advertise. You have to build a website. You have to, and so how it grew so quickly from a couple little concerts to 23 concerts.
Yeah.
Um, no, I never saw that coming. And it wasn't even in the plans. It just kind
Yeah.
of happened, you know? The plan was
Yeah.
7 concerts. And then we added the second venue. Okay, 14 concerts. Easy, right? And then we had the
Hmm.
third venue. And now the fourth venue. And it's just like, and the Schweiker House and Dixon, they approached us.
Amazing.
You know?
And so like I just want to flag this for podcast listeners.
Mhm.
I I think if I'm sitting in my little room feeling underemployed and thinking about creating a like major organization like the thing that you have now only 3 years into this journey, I'm real intimidated by that idea. But if I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna like make some chamber music for some of my friends, and I'm gonna set some venues up, and see if we can put on a few concerts and attract some audiences and talk to them. That feels really doable. And so, just to flag this for podcast listeners, it's okay to start small, and it's okay to start where you are, and it's okay to have ambitions and not even be that totally perfectly clear about what might come of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it was never our goal to do this many concerts. And what we do have to remember when I'm saying this is yes, there's 23 concerts, but they're not 23 different concerts, right?
Sure.
There's 7 concerts done 3 times plus the 2 little mini concerts. So
Hmm.
I can't imagine programming 23 different concerts. That would be a whole nother deal, you know?
Right, because it's not just that you have to hire musicians for the 23 different concerts, is that you have to separately advertise
Hmm.
all of those 23 different concerts. But for the musician, of course, to be able to repeat the program 3 times in a row, all in the same week, is wonderful.
Isn't it? Yes.
And to be paid for all of those,
Yes,
amazing.
we pay the same amount that you would get if you were working with a freelance orchestra, and
Hmm.
actually more than a lot of the orchestras pay per week, because
Hmm.
we want people to feel valued. We're
Yeah,
also very, very rare in that we pay our visual artists as well.
fantastic.
Artists always pay to be in art fairs and stuff to show their stuff. We're paying them because we want them to feel as valuable and as important as the musicians in this. And we
Right.
have Ken Reef was our October artist last year. He's going to be our October artist again this year. He's joined our board, and the quality and level of visual artists he has found us it's mind blowing.
Hmm.
If people do visit our websites and they look and see what we have, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
my goal is right now, most people kind of come for the music and then they're like, oh, the art's delightful. I want half that audience to come to for the art and say, oh, well, this music is nice too, right? That's
Hmm.
my ultimate goal is to be able to tap into both those worlds. And and we work really hard to um, pick people that make sense. Like I said, Ken Reef is our artist in October, and that's the blues harmonica concert with Corky
Hmm.
Siegel and violinist Randy Sabine. Well, Ken was really torn early on if he wanted to be an artist or if he wanted to be a blues musician,
Oh, so
right?
he's connected in that, and like that's an event
Yeah,
he might have wanted to attend anyway.
exactly. And he does these amazing nature paintings, but he also does paintings of blues musicians, always has. And so
Huh.
he's done paintings of Corky and Randy now, and we're using them in our advertising, you know. And so it's just such a cool fit. Or like when we had the guitar duo last year,
Hmm.
for the second night, I was giving like the little welcome to the audience, and I said, I sat through this concert in Dixon last night, and they played more notes in that 1 hour and 15-minute concert than I played in the entire pandemic, right? And so they're back this year, and we paired them with Jen McNulty, who's a mosaic artist, and
Hmm.
she makes mosaics out of teeny tiny pictures. And so we're billing that one as thousands of notes, thousands of photographs, you know? So
Yes.
just trying to find cool ways that they can intermix. We have uh, an interesting pairing. We have the Contrast String Quartetter coming to play for the first time in January, and we have Louis Achenbach is the he's a painter, he's the artist, and he's known around town as a he goes to lots of jazz events and does these crazy, vivid, wild paintings, and it's really fun to watch videos of him. He's like so high energy of jazz, but he
Hmm.
also is a classical trained piano player. And so he asked if he could do the string quartet instead of the jazz because we always have jazz in December. And so
Yeah.
he's going to do his really cool paintings of the string quartet now. So it's just fun to figure out these pairings that may seem random to people, but actually there's a reason why they're together.
It's enchanting to hear you just like light up as you talk about these pairings. Is that um does it feel like a really creative act for you to build these concerts, even the ones that you're not actually playing on yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've played, I'm only playing one of the concerts this year, the last
Hmm.
one, which is actually really fun. It's with my oboe quartet, but we're not billing it so much as a concert by the quartet as a concert of music by Chicago composers.
Cool.
So composers that have written pieces for us. So we get to, highlight Chicago's composers, yeah, any way we can get more people out there, and
Yeah,
get
exactly. And
joy.
broaden the appeal, and just and sorry, it delights me how creatively you're putting this all together,
Thank you.
and how much success you've had. So I'm so glad that this is happening. It's really
Well,
inspiring to see.
Chicago has so much to offer.
Yeah.
And people are always like, are you going to bring people from out of town? Maybe one day, I don't know, but we have so much to offer right here. I don't feel like we've come even close to exhausting it. Um, there are people that we will bring back, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll always mix in new ones too.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to pick who you're going to bring back, who you're going to say, yeah, not this year, but maybe in 2 years, and but then to find new groups and bring them in, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
So,
I can tell. I can hear how thrilling it is.
and I always
Deb, this
picture
is
like on the way home, people in the car, like 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 the one person in the car is like, oh, that Bach was amazing, and the next person will be like, really? I don't know. I like the Stravinsky. And then some of the back seats like, oh, but the art. And then the last person's like, but there was wine. I mean, like one reason for everybody to love it, right?
yes.
So that's the
Yes.
goal. That's the goal.
Oh, love it. I love it. Deb, thank you so much for talking with me about this. This was a pleasure of a conversation. Is there anything else that you would like to say that I didn't ask about or didn't give you a moment for?
No, I just thank you for letting me talk about it. I hope people enjoy it. I hope they'll check out our website. If you're listening from out of town, consider our Patreon channel. Um, and Janet, like you said, hopefully this is going to inspire other people if they have some sort of dream, whether it be to open a dog grooming business or whatever. You can do it. And I
Yeah.
think the one thing is, be true to yourself. We are true to ourselves. Every time we hire, every plan we make, we don't think, maybe we should do it this way because other organizations do it this way. We stay true to ourselves. And I think that's why it's working. So always be true to yourself.
Oh, that is gorgeous, Deb. Thank you so, so much. The website is rendezvousarts.org,
It
and I'll
is.
have a link to that in the show notes too. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe on your app of choice and leave a review too. It really helps us. Don't forget to check out Fonz if your own teaching or service-based business needs better systems, and use the link in the show notes for our special offer. Our theme music is composed by Dream Vance. You can hear his newest album, Rama, on Spotify and Apple Music, and follow him there for more innovative synth music. You can find me at janetingle.com, which is also where you can pick up a copy of The Happiest Musician book, reach out to me with thoughts or questions about the podcast, or apply for a possibility session to explore your own portfolio career and your thriving musical life. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.